I humbly bow down and request for your prayers and blessings so that whatever I may say today in this session may be in accordance with what Lord Krishna had instructed to Arjuna 5,000 years back and what has been passed down through the Guru Parampara or through the disciplic succession. I request for your prayers and blessings, please. Right. And I'd like to start with a small prayer. All of you can join me in this prayer. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utpadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining me in that prayer. So the previous chapter, or the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, this is the overview of the 8th chapter. So all chapters of the Bhagavad Gita that we deal with, we have these acronyms to remember these chapters and the contents of it. So the 8th chapter is called Akshara Brahma Yoga, or attaining the supreme, and it mainly deals with what death is. So first we saw that the acronym for this chapter is DEAD, dead. Okay, the first D stands for doubts. Doubts, basically all of us have so many doubts about death, right? Similarly, Arjuna had doubts about what death actually is and how to deal with it and how to face death. So these doubts have been addressed in the first 4 shlokas of the 8th chapter, right? And then Lord Krishna reveals to him that death is actually the exam that we face. It's the final exam. It's the real final exam that we face in this as a living entity, okay? Especially when we've got a human form of life, death becomes very, very important. It's not something that we need to fear. It's not something that we need to get bewildered by. Because like we have seen, we are not this body. We are the soul within this body, and we transmigrate through many different bodies. And it's not that we're undergoing death for the first time. We have been facing death and transmigrating through different bodies from many lifetimes, right? It's just that we've forgotten. For me, it's so difficult to remember, what I've eaten for breakfast this morning, let alone what I was in previous life or when did I face death before, right? Similarly, it's just that we forget due to the effect of the illusory energy of God, which is termed as Maya. We forget. But death is not something new to us, and it's the final exam. And why is it called an exam? Because at the time of death, if we are successful in remembering God and his pastimes, this ensures that we go back to God's abode, we go back to from where we have come, right? So the life that we get is extremely precious. You never know, because death is not like a normal exam that comes with a timetabled announcement saying that you're going to face this exam at this time. No, it's a surprise test. You never know when it's going to come, right? So we have to keep practicing every moment of this human form of life that we get is extremely precious, because we prepare for that final exam during this life, right? So the goal of this life, this human form of life, is believed to be attaining the supreme, and that's the heading, that's the title of this chapter, So attaining the supreme. And why should we attain the supreme? Because there, where the Supreme Lord resides, God is not light, or God is not is not an impersonal form. It's not something that cannot be looked at or imagined. There is this beautiful creation, so of course there has to be some person behind it. So in our philosophy, God is a personality, and he has his own home, he has his own abode, and that is where we belong. And in that abode, unlike this material world where we are right now, there is no temporary happiness and distress. It's eternal. It's eternal. It's called the eternal abode, right? So our goal of human life is to go back to that abode and attain the supreme, be in association with him, be his friend, be his associate and serve him. This is the purpose of this human life, that we go back to our original place that we came from. Now, this particular chapter is called Raja Vidya. Raja Vidya meaning the royal knowledge. It's very, very secretive. It is not revealed that easily. Even in the Vedas, there's no clear description of this knowledge which is being revealed in this particular 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Hence, it's called royal knowledge. Only people who are of royal caliber in terms of spiritual advancement, they get access to this kind of knowledge. So we're all fortunate that we're able to study this knowledge, have a brief overview of it today in this session. So welcome to this royal knowledge session today. Okay. So the acronym for this chapter, because it's royal knowledge, is KING, right? K stands for knowledge. What exactly do we mean by Raja Vidya? What do we mean by royal knowledge is in the first 3 shlokas. Okay. Then we have inconceivable relationships. Okay. What do we mean by non-worship? What happens? What's the fate of people who are not able to practice devotion or practice devotional service or bhakti yoga? And then the end of the chapter, this most secretive knowledge is revealed, okay? And it glorifies bhakti, okay? We'll see what this means. Bhakti is the Sanskrit word for devotion, devotional service. So we will see why it's glorified. So first of all, what exactly is this royal knowledge? What do we mean by this royal knowledge? What exactly is it? Why is it so secretive? So there are different degrees of confidentiality. If we have heard of this word before, right? So confidential knowledge in the Vedic scriptures, confidential knowledge is of different degrees, okay? So you can grade this Atma Tattva as confidential. So in which chapter did we learn about the body soul description? Can I have quick responses, please, in the chat box? In which chapter of the Bhagavad Gita did we learn that we are not this body? We are the soul. When did Lord Krishna introduce us to this concept called Atma Tattva? Okay, I have responses in the chat box. 5th, okay. Not quite right. Good guess, Priya. Indumati is also saying 5th. Okay. Oh, it was much early on. Lord Krishna did not wait until the 5th chapter. Oh. Yeah, yes. Excellent, Prashant. The correct answer is 2, the 2nd chapter. So in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, this Atma Tattva is revealed. Okay, Lord Krishna says that we are Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptis dhiras tatra na muhyati. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grihnati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnan anyani samyati navani dehi. So just like we dispose our old ragged outfits, right? In a similar way, we get rid of these bodies that we have got as outfits, right? All of us have heard about out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, where people have been able to see themselves being operated on. How is it possible when a person is unconscious lying on the doctor's table or in the operation theater? How is that possible? There has to be something else which is experiencing things, not this body. There has to be someone who's experiencing the changes around, who's experiencing everything that's happening to the body. And that conscious entity is the soul, right? This knowledge is revealed in the second chapter. It's called Atma Tattva, and it is considered to be confidential. If you can rate it out of 3, you can rate it as 1. Okay. Then you have more confidential knowledge. So knowledge of devotional service. So bhakti or devotional service is not something easily spoken about or attainable. Okay. And in a lot of cultures, although we have worship of God, but what exactly bhakti is, it's not clear, it's not clearly revealed. So it's not just devotion, it is called devotional service for a reason, right? It's not, a business deal like we have spoken about before. You don't go to the temple or go to the church and say, hey, God, if I get good marks in the exam tomorrow, I'm going to bring you a gift the day after. It's not that. It's not a business exchange. It is love. It's loving service. So this aspect, this loving aspect, unconditional loving aspect of bhakti is called Krishna Sambandha or devotional service, knowledge of devotional service. This is considered to be a little more confidential than Atma Tattva. Okay. What is the most confidential? What is the most confidential knowledge in the Vedas, in the Bhagavad Gita? This is revealed to be pure devotional service, and how God reciprocates to this, right? A lot of us, what's the difference between just devotional service and pure devotional service? We'll see further as we progress in this chapter, okay? If I do forget to mention this, please prompt me in the chat box. Just let me know. I will tell you the distinction between what is devotional service and what is pure devotional service, which is considered to be the most confidential, royal knowledge, and how to attain the stage of pure devotional service. We'll see. Okay. Yes. Right. Yes. Prashant says Sankhya Yoga. Yes. The Atma Tattva, or the knowledge that we are not this body. What's our real identity? Our real identity is as the soul has been revealed in the second chapter, which is titled as Sankhya Yoga. Okay. Right. So this knowledge is the most confidential, right? The pure devotional service and Krishna's reciprocation, this particular knowledge of pure devotional service, extremely confidential. So there is very strict eligibility requirements for us to be able to get this knowledge, right? What are those eligibility requirements, entry requirements? First thing, this is described in the first and the third shlokas, 2 qualifications you need to understand this knowledge. Number 1 is Anusuyava. Anusuyava means completely non-envious. There should be no tinge of jealousy in us in order to become eligible to get this knowledge of pure devotional service. And the second thing is Shraddha or faith. Okay. These are Sanskrit words. Anusuyava and Shraddha are Sanskrit words. The translation is non-envious and faith. I have a quick question to ask you all. What is the difference between belief and faith? Can you quickly put your responses in the chat box? What's the difference between belief and faith? Yes. Is everyone with me? Are you able to make sense of what I'm saying? Okay. Kartikesh says Vishwas or Bharosa. Okay, I did not ask for a Hindi translation. What's the difference between belief and faith? What do you guys think? Belief might not be verifiable. Okay. Faith would be. Okay. Okay, right. Thank you, Nishant, for that response. What about the others? Do you have any different responses? What do you think, Karen? Because you've joined us today, I'd love to hear from you. What do you think is different between, what's the difference between faith and belief? You can put it in the chat box, or you can unmute if you'd like. Let me see if I can ask you to unmute. Okay, Prashant says belief. Maybe belief is in the head, faith is in the heart. Oh, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful description. Thank you, Karen. Yes, I agree with that. I think faith has mostly to do with religion. Okay. But if you see the translation, I mean, if you see the word in Hindi, Divya, or Sanskrit word, Shraddha, the Shraddha means religion in the Indian languages. I think if you think of it that way, it would make better sense. Faith means trust, and believe means we take to be true. Okay, right. Thank you, Pooja. Prashant says belief is accepting something to be true based on evidence, while faith is trusting in something without requiring evidence. Okay, that's a dodgy definition. Faith is, what you're talking about is blind faith. You know, you're believing in something without evidence at all. That's blind faith. It need not be without evidence. Faith need not be without evidence. Faith in one, accepting it without any second thought, right? Shraddha is faith. Right. Okay, right, Divya. Thank you. So what we're talking about here in this chapter as faith has nothing to do with religion. Okay, there's nothing to do with religion. So among belief and faith, which one is of greater intensity, do you think? Can I have your responses in the chat box, please? Among belief and faith, which is of greater intensity? Okay, Priya and Indumati ji says faith. Faith always. Okay, perfect. Definitely, absolutely. Faith is of greater intensity. So why do we say that faith is of greater intensity? So you can understand this, that, you know, belief, when it becomes stronger, when you believe in something, and this belief, now people can come, when you're in the initial stages of belief, you know, people can come and say that, oh, I don't agree with you. Oh, there's something different, or, you know, I have something to argue about. So if somebody can come and challenge your belief, it's very easy to change those beliefs, you know. They're in the very beginning and moldable stage. So everything changes, especially with beliefs. But faith is unlike that, more steady. As belief becomes more firm and steady, and you're sure that you are rooting for this belief, that's when it becomes unshakable. That's when it becomes faith, isn't it? So to be eligible to get this knowledge, yes, this internalization when it comes to faith, right? You resonate with this purpose, with this cause, with this idea. That's when you develop the faith for it, right? So that kind of unshakable determination and belief, when it's there, that is called faith, and you require that faith. So Anusuyava, the first criteria itself, very difficult to fulfill. Becoming completely non-envious. If we have people around us having things that we really desire, you know, it becomes natural to us that we start feeling envious towards them, right? So I wouldn't say that I do not feel envy. I feel envy too, because it's a natural emotion that comes. And after great practice, after many years of practice of devotional service, you know, not pure devotional service, where we try to serve God with whatever ability we have. We might make mistakes here and there, but we still serve. If we continue to do that, that is our practice. You know, that's our practice. And eventually we reach a state of non-enviousness. It's possible. Yes. So that's when, after reaching this state, and when we have firm faith in God's constant presence with us in our hearts as Paramatma, as the super soul, God is present in our hearts as Paramatma. He says in the 15th chapter, 15th shloka, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritirjnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvairahameva vedyo vedanta krit veda videva chaham. Lord says that I reside in everybody's heart as the super soul, constantly guiding us, constantly supporting us. As a witness, I stay in the heart. So when we develop this firm faith that yes, God is present in our heart, He's constantly guiding us. We never feel alone. When we get that kind of faith, that makes us eligible to gain this royal, confidential, most confidential knowledge. Right? Okay. These are the two qualifications: non-enviousness and firm faith, Shraddha. So why is this called, how do we describe this most confidential knowledge? Why is this called Raja Vidya? And what other adjectives are given to this knowledge? It's described in the second shloka. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Avyayam. This is the second shloka, just it's split up so that we understand each adjective. Raja Vidya means it's the royal knowledge or king of all knowledge. Okay. Raja Guhyam, it's the most confidential, secret of all secrets, and only a handful of people can get access to this knowledge. Okay. It's Pavitram, it's the purest knowledge. Uttamam, it's transcendental. It transcends beyond this material world and material understanding. It's from the spiritual realm, so it's transcendental. Pratyakshaavagamam dharmyam. This knowledge, if somebody has this knowledge, this is the true perfection of religion. If somebody is able to execute pure devotional service for God without any expectation in return, without having any envy, with firm faith, such a person is believed to have attained the perfection of religion. Religion in the scriptural terms is not what we know of religion today. Okay. Religion is the path of righteousness. It is not recognizing with a certain god or religion. Okay. So dharma, it is called dharma in Sanskrit. Okay. Religion is called dharma. Dharma means righteousness. Just does not just mean identification with a particular, sect or particular belief. You understand? So this is the perfection of righteousness, perfection of religion when we talk about this royal knowledge. Susukham. So person who gets this knowledge is bound to be extremely joyful in complete understanding of the constant presence of God and the loving exchange between us and God. So this love always gives, very pleasant, even the material love that we have gives us very pleasant feelings. So what about transcendental love that we have with the divine God constantly present with us? Feel extremely joyful on getting this knowledge. And unlike the normal knowledge that we have, unlike the material knowledge, this most confidential king of all knowledge, purest knowledge is everlasting. It's everlasting. So once you get this knowledge, it continues with us. And once you gain this knowledge, you reach the perfection of religion. You reach the perfection of the human life. So you don't have to come back again to this world, which is filled with miseries. This material world is called Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. Okay. It's called a temporary abode of miseries. So when you come here, you're bound to have miseries. And everything here is temporary. Nothing is everlasting. You don't have to come here and experience miseries and joy and sorrow cycles that keep happening again and again. Birth and death cycle. You don't have to experience it. Once you get this perfect knowledge, you can transcend beyond these limitations of miseries, right? Okay. So what is this inconceivable relationship that's discussed in this 9th chapter? It's discussed from the verses 4 to 10. Okay. Let us read and find out. Mayadhyakshena prakritihi suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. Can I have somebody to please read the translation? Could you put your hands, could you raise your hands up? Digitally, virtually? Would anybody like to read the translation, please? You can go to the reactions and select raise hand so that I know who wants to read. Hare Krishna. Or is everybody held up and busy somewhere? Indumati ji, do you want to read? Yeah, please go ahead.
This manifestation is
Okay. Okay. Indumati ji, sorry, your voice was not very clearly audible. I see Prashant's hand up as well. Indumati ji, you want to try again? Your voice has not been very clear.
sorry.
You can keep the mic closer or your device closer to your mouth for a while. It might make your voice clearer. So all of you will get a chance to read again. So if you want to read the translations, please keep a watch and raise your hands digitally, okay, so that I can know you want to read. Yes. Indumati ji? Okay, yeah, you've not been audible. Yes, Priya, go ahead.
This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again.
Right. Thank you, Priya. Hare Krishna. So this material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, meaning Arjuna. And this material nature produces all moving and non-moving beings under the Lord's direction. So under this material nature's rule, the manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So one of the laws of nature is creation, maintenance, and destruction, right? Creation and destruction is among the laws of nature. And Lord says that he has different energies, okay? And one of them is material nature. She is subordinate to him and she works under his directions, okay? And material nature is believed to be worshipped as goddess Durga or goddess Kali in the Indian tradition, right? And she has this very frightening form with her tongue out and a necklace of skulls, isn't it? And wide, glaring eyes. But why is she portrayed like that? Can somebody tell me in the chat box? We discussed this in the last class. This world is described as a prison house. And who is Maya? Who is Durga Mata here in this world? She is considered to be the personation of jailer or warden. Yes. She is the prison officer. Okay, she's the chief prison officer and she takes care that whoever is inside this prison house, inside this jail, gets punishment according to their deeds, right? Gets the punishment or the treatment that they deserve. So she works under the direction. And who's the owner of the jail? God is the owner of the jail and she's the chief prison officer, Durga Mata or Maya. She works under his direction. She's also responsible for producing all moving and non-moving beings. And under the material nature's rule, this manifestation is repeated. It's one of the laws of nature that she ensures that creation happens and annihilation happens cyclically, okay, over and over again, right? So this inconceivable relationship that we're talking about is between God and his energies. Both are quite inconceivable with our limited senses. This human body, we have a lot of limitations. We cannot perceive everything as they are. It's always a filter to it based on our perception, our level of understanding, and our level of, the kind of sensory equipment that comes with this human body has its own limitations, and it's difficult to perceive the inconceivable. So his inconceivable relationships, God's inconceivable relationships with the universe and living entities, and our inability to comprehend such matters through mundane logic and reason. If we try with these limited senses and mind to perceive what God is, what his energies are, how does this work, how does this universe work under his directions, how can God be present with every living entity? There are believed to be 8.4 million species of living entities. It's mentioned in our scriptures, 84 lakh yoniya. So with each and every living entity, how can God be present as super soul in their hearts? Then this baffling. So with our limited senses, we might feel that it's impossible, but it is stated in the scriptures. There is evidence in multiple scriptures. So this is just inconceivable with our limited senses. It is difficult to comprehend through mundane logic and reason. It's just not possible to logically explain it. Okay, we cannot explain it that way. There is a point in the scriptures that, to a certain extent we can understand things with logic, but beyond that, things have to be taken as they are, because if you go tell a child in first grade that, start introducing calculus, okay, differentiation and integration to a child in first or second grade, that child will think like everything's whirling around him, nothing, cannot understand it. It's baffling, because at that age, when a child is a first or second grader, the mind is not developed enough to understand concepts like this differentiation, integration, and calculus, right? So this is similar. We cannot understand this with these limited senses in the human body. So we have to acknowledge and accept our inability to comprehend these matters. And evidences given in the scriptures have come from direct incarnations of God himself. Okay? Scriptures have not been written by the accepted scriptures. The mantras that we chant have not been written by ordinary people. They have been empowered with the ability to comprehend things. And that is how they've been able to write these scriptures. Okay. So the next part, this is about the inconceivable relationship of God, his energies, and his relationship with living entities. It is difficult to understand, not very easy. So what do we mean by non-worship? This is being dealt with in the next part of this chapter from 11th to 25th verse. We're going to quickly look at this. So the meeting is going to end in less than a minute. So I'm going to end the meeting here. I request all of you to kindly rejoin, and we'll continue our discussion and move on to the quiz. Right? Thank you. Hare Krishna.